Welcome to your September 16th edition of Off the Mat. We have a person up here who wasn't up here last week with us, and we're going to recap Strikeforce, the Heavyweight Grand Prix, right after this. Welcome to Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's Jeremy Hurt. Jeremy's back with us this week. That's John Urcuyo. Guys, how y'all feeling today?
I'm back. I mean, everything's good, right?
Everything's good. Good. John, how you feeling, man? You good?
I'm relieved. I needed Jeremy back.
Man, was this Strikeforce card that we're about to get into, guys? The semis was probably one of the most explosive Strikeforce fight cards I've seen in a very long time. It was a lot of quick knockouts, a lot of great fights just went down in this card, and I was really impressed. They're really trying to go out with a bang. You know, they don't have much time left before the UFC absorbs them or does whatever the UFC is going to do with the Strikeforce brand. They're really trying to go out with a bang. These last couple of cards they have been pretty good. This Heavyweight Grand Prix was a great idea by the higher-ups at Strikeforce. And we're going to roll right into it. First, we're going to start with our honorable mention. Jordan, we have to mention Jordan Mian because he had such a great fight against Evangelista Santos. Just a breakout fight for the guy. He came out and he knocks out one of the KO artists, one of the better fighters in the Strikeforce brand. Jordan Mian comes out and just surprises everybody.
Honestly, I think you're kind of underselling it, calling it the honorable mention. I thought, you know, obviously the title fight was pretty good, but I mean, if other than that, this is the fight of the night, right? I mean, the finish, the way it finished, it was a great fight up to that point, and then all of a sudden you got a guy just throwing elbows like they're punches. I mean, I thought this was the fight of the night, honestly.
Absolutely. It was entertaining, you know, throughout the entire fight, and it was fantastic. You know, Santos, a lot of people, you know, he didn't win the fight, but he definitely put forth a great effort, and he moved forward. You know, it went all 3 rounds. You know, he almost made it to until the end of the fight, and if it weren't for those elbows, maybe he would have lasted, you know, gone to decision. But definitely entertaining and gave the fans exactly what they were looking for.
Very quickly, guys, with Santos losing this fight after losing to Nick Diaz, you lose to Nick Diaz, which is a champion and which you know is a great fighter in his own right. You come in, you lose to the new guy. Do you guys see Santos staying around after this fight?
Well, I mean, first you'd have to address kind of what the future of Strikeforce itself is going to be, but I think that there's kind of that level of nepotism, I guess, if you want to call it. As long as his wife is doing the things that his wife does, I think he'll have cards that'll be willing to show his fights.
So you think he'll get in by association with his wife?
I absolutely do. It happens fairly often in the world we live in.
Well, and with a fighter like that, it's, you know, one of those setup fighters that you look at, someone that you know is going to go out there and they're going to give it their all. They're going to come out and they're going to put forth a great fight for the fans. He stood in there. He took those hits and, you know, tried to do as much as he could to win that fight. But, you know, the younger Mian was a little bit too much for him. I don't think he has to worry about his job just yet, especially when he puts forth such a, you know, entertaining matches with these other fighters, especially, you know, that we're getting to the older ages of some of these fighters that have been around in the UFC for so long. They're going to need guys to push their younger guys forward. And, you know, Santos, he may not be left, you know, may not have a title shot left in him, but he's definitely got great fights, entertaining fights to move these other younger athletes forward.
And I think you'd be hard-pressed to make that judgment now because this is MMA. Everybody gets a second act in MMA if they're willing to put the time in.
All right, guys, moving on to our next fight in this speed run. The man, Muhammad Lawal. I love King Mo. He came back after being off for a year or maybe a little bit over a year, fighting against Hozier Gracie, and he knocks him out. Knocks out the new blood in the Gracie family. I'm really kind of taken aback by this fight because I didn't think that Hozier was going to stay up with him and try to fight with him the whole time. His reach is incredible, and he has the body to strike with Lawal. But, you know, him coming off of a layoff, you don't really know where he's going to come from. You don't know where his game has been in this year. And I was really kind of surprised that he tried to stay up with him.
Well, for a guy like a Gracie, for him to be able to enact his game plan, he's got to have some way to close the distance, especially against a top, you know, a good wrestler like King Mo. You've got to have some way, you know, set feints, change levels, but you got to have some way to close that distance. And until he can show that, you know, he can stand on his feet and throw with people, it's going to be hard for him to do that against people who have experience wrestling.
This is definitely a surprise fight. You see, you know, a guy King Mo coming back against a Gracie. Just that name in this business means so much, carries so much weight that people don't expect to see that kind of outcome. These are two fighters you saw in the fight kind of feeling each other out for the first 2-3 minutes, and then, you know, a big haymaker coming from King Mo. Just having that kind of knockout power at his disposal at any time is such a powerful thing, and we saw him take advantage of that. He found his right distance before Gracie could find his, and took care of business and put Gracie down and just, you know, finished the fight. People didn't see it coming. You know, most of this fight, feeling each other out, and then boom, it's over. You know, entertaining, yes, but absolutely didn't expect to see that kind of performance out of Gracie.
Yeah, Muhammad came out, King Mo, I don't really want to, nobody really calls him by his first name. King Mo came out, and he can't undermine his speed at all. His speed, getting in on the inside of that knockout, getting through the long arms of Gracie was just top notch. I mean, he comes off, ring rust was not a factor for King Mo in this fight, and I was very pleased with him. Pretty sure he's going to be making waves in the UFC. Pretty sure he's going to be one of those guys that gets brought over to the UFC.
Yeah, he'll get brought over. I'm not sure that his ceiling is super high, but, you know, I did never say that. So.
All right, guys, moving on to our next fight. Now, this fight, there was a middleweight championship, guys, in case you missed it, that went on. Jacare Souza lost his belt to Mr. Rockhold, Mr. Luke Rockhold. And what a magnificent fight it was. Went down to the last drop, I like to call it. You know, Rockhold came out, took a belt, taking on a champion like Souza, to just come out and do that against somebody like Souza, who commands respect when you hear that name, was just a magnificent feat.
Yeah, you know, you hear people say every once in a while, to be the champion, you got to beat the champion, which in our sport means that you have to convincingly beat the champion. And that's not necessarily what happened in this fight, but at the same time, I think when you go through and look at the fight, it's pretty clear that Rockhold won 3 of the rounds, and, you know, that gives him the belt. But you can't say enough about this fight. I've said it since day one. When I see 2 fighters go in the cage, what I want to see is 2 fighters fighting. For as long as they're in there, I want them fighting. That's what happened in this fight, and that's what, you know, that's what we love the sport for.
Most definitely. That's exactly what you want to see. Going 5 rounds. That's exactly what people want to pay for. They want to go the whole distance, and it was back and forth as well. Stand-up striking. We know, Souza tried to take it to the ground, and Rockhold wouldn't let him keep it there. He got back up. We got back to the feet, and it was just a fantastic fight. A little bit of drama, a little dissension with the decision there. Could have gone either way. I think the right decision was made. It was entertaining, and seeing at the end Rockhold, jumping up and down like an 8-year-old who just got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. Pure excitement. That's exactly what you want to see when you go to an event like that.
I know people were it was with good reason that people were upset that one of the cards was 50-45, because that's completely insane. But, sometimes you get fights like this where there's 3, with each person you can look and you can say they won those 3 rounds, and you could do that for both of the fighters in this fight. It's just the nature of the sport. Again, though, it's exactly what we come out to see.
All right, guys, and moving on to our Heavyweight Grand Prix here. We have Mr. Cormier coming out and destroying Silva. Did Silva look like he didn't belong there at all? I mean, I was completely dumbfounded by him not being on top of his game at all. His striking wasn't there. Nothing was there. He really just stood there. He was a punching bag for Cormier. He just stood there and took punches.
Cormier did exactly what he had to do. Come in there. He's a replacement fighter. His chance to get on the big stage and actually show that he is deserving of that spot, and comes out, Silva just wasn't ready for him. I don't think he thought he was going to tumble over this guy. The guy wasn't put in the Grand Prix to start with. Didn't have his mind right. Cormier got inside that big frame, lit him up with an uppercut right to the chin, dropped him down, and finished the job.
Completely destroyed Cormier.
Yeah, I mean, as we discussed before the show, if you're fighting Daniel Cormier, you need to be able to beat him on your feet, because if you can't stand with Cormier and win in that realm, you're not going to beat him. You're talking about an Olympic-level wrestler. I mean, you're talking about a guy, you're going to have to be able to stand on the edges and throw with him. And if you can't do that, you've really got no shot. And I think that's what Bigfoot Silva ran into. He's a giant human being. He does have very solid technique in a lot of areas, especially off his back. But when he gets in with a guy that has better skills, it's nice to be the size of a Buick, but it's also nice to have the skills.
Yeah, and being that size, yeah, you do get to be, you know, outweigh your opponents, but you also have that gigantic head that is pretty much a bullseye for most of your opponents also. And when you get to going against people that are such high-quality strikers, they take advantage of something like that.
All right, guys. Well, we're getting a little carried away up here, loving this card, this Strikeforce card, guys. We're going to take a break right here, but when we come back, we're going to take the last fight on the Heavyweight Grand Prix that happened last weekend, the semis, and we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather and Victor Ortiz right after this. About this Mayweather fight, we don't even get to talk boxing that much. Like, are y'all excited about that?
I wish it was Pacquiao though. We were seeing a little
yeah,
Mayweather-Pacquiao action.
You really think he can stand up to Pacquiao? Mayweather?
Yes, they're the perfect counter for each other.
Well, we'll see. He's got power. I know he's got a knockout.
What would you do with $500?
Oh, I would buy a KitchenAid mixer.
New snow blades, go skiing.
I'm gonna spend it like fixing my car. Go on a road trip, I would think.
Take a little mini vacation.
I think I'd go shopping.
Throw a party.
Yeah, just a normal party.
Everyone's invited.
Would you give it up for a single cigarette?
I would say no.
No way.
No, not at all.
You could be fined up to $500 for smoking one cigarette at the University of Arkansas. Is it worth it?
Welcome back to Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's Jeremy Hurt, and that's John Urcuyo. All three guys back up here this week doing it big on the new set. I mean, do you guys just love this set behind us? It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. You know, I missed last week's show, so I didn't realize I was walking into like Star Trek.
A little starstruck?
Yeah.
All right. Well, getting back into this card, the last fight on the card was definitely, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised, but I was really going for Kharitonov. I like Josh Barnett a lot. He really, after winning this fight, he made it into my top 5 heavyweights in the world right now. I'm really sticking him at 4 and 5. I don't know which, between him and Mir, I don't know which one. Him and Brock and Mir kind of falling, you know, in the same kind of area on my top 5 list. But man, Josh Barnett looked amazing in this fight against Kharitonov. I mean, he had Kharitonov on the ground, and he locked those spurs in, and Kharitonov looked like a baby, like in a pool or something. He just couldn't, as try as he might, struggling, he just couldn't do it.
Absolutely a completely one-sided fight. Barnett, he comes out there and he played his game plan to perfect precision. He got down on the ground and he just held his opponent there and had his way with him. A guy like Barnett, he just goes down and he controls the fight, you know?
So calm.
Hey, he knows what he's doing. He's like a methodical football coach. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. He just gets on the ground, sat on top of it. One point in the fight, I saw him looking down right at Kharitonov, just talking so much trash, and there was nothing he could do about it. And you see how the fight ended up. His excellent ground game pushed forward, got himself a submission, and won the fight. It was absolutely convincing. Josh Barnett, so deserving to be in this final round of the Grand Prix.
And I saw that too, and I laughed pretty hard when he was talking. I was like, do they really understand each other right now? Because, you know, Kharitonov doesn't really speak English, right, and Barnett definitely doesn't speak what Kharitonov speaks. So do they really understand each other, or is there just like some anger just being thrown at each other, and they just feel the anger through the language?
Yeah, I think there's one language when you're holding someone down and beating their face in. But, you know, since I missed the recap of UFC 134, and we're never going to talk about that ever again, I would like at this point to bring up the fact that whenever this Grand Prix started, somebody up here said that Josh Barnett would win the thing, and the other two, no, that's not
that wasn't Jeremy, though.
No, it was. But, you know, Josh Barnett, he's very much the real deal. He's very much a legit elite heavyweight, has been for years and years. The difference with him and a lot of, you know, if you want to call them the Pride generation fighters, you know, those guys from 5 to 10 years ago, the big difference between Josh Barnett and those guys is he may not be the most technically perfect fighter in the world, though he's very good at catch wrestling, but what he is a guy that knows how to beat up other people. And he brings that into a cage every time that he steps in, and that's what we saw against Kharitonov. It's just a progression, really. When Josh Barnett, you know, when they start that fight, it's a progression for him. I'm starting here, and then I'm going to put you there, and then I'm going to do this to you, and then I'm going to get my arm raised. He did it again here. He's been doing it for years. I think Josh Barnett's very much a legit contender worldwide in that weight class.
Well, and a fantastic ground game, something that is really lost when you get to the heavyweight division. Most people think big guys, they're not athletic, they can't get on the ground, they can't move around. They're all about striking and being stronger than their opponent. Yeah, Barnett was definitely stronger, but laying on top, pressing, those elbows, and with, such a great submission game. 18 of his 30 victories coming from submission, and he finds a way to take advantage of his opponent's weaknesses. Saul Kharitonov gave him the back, and he used it. Fight was over in about 30 seconds. So you see just how powerful Barnett can be when he gets into his strengths.
And another thing, just real quickly, Barnett was asked what he thought would happen in his fight against Cormier. He said, "I think I'm going to take an Olympian down." So that tells you he's not short on confidence.
He's definitely not. Him losing that babyface assassin nickname, going into the War Master.
I don't know, War Master? Really?
I mean, he displays it. I mean, he's like Sun Tzu out there. He completely textbook had when he got Kharitonov back. And he flipped him over. He flattened him out, flipped him over, and put him in that headlock. It was textbook the whole way through. You cannot teach better than that. That is something that like you said a couple months ago when we were on the show. If there was a textbook for MMA, that would have been one of the graphs. The way that he just executed, flattened him out, rolled him over, took him out. Kharitonov never had a chance. He never had a chance in that fight, and it was sad to see that. I was a big fan of Kharitonov. His KO power is just one of the things that attracted me a lot. And Barnett, like I said, he made it into my top 5. Matter of fact, guys, I want you to name your top 5 heavyweights right now on the spot. Dermot?
Okay, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos. I still think Shane Carwin's up there. I'm going to throw in Josh Barnett, and I'm going to go with, who's my 5 spot? Well,
you got Mir, you got Lesnar left.
Yeah, you're not speaking my language so far. I'm gonna pass, but you come back to me. I'm going to have something that's going to blow your mind.
You can't pass.
I got 4 out of 5. I can pass. Yeah.
John, who's your top 5 right now?
Well, pretty much stole my top 4 right there, and that's pretty much, I think, goes without saying. I'm going to go ahead and throw out that knockout power of Mr. Alistair Overeem.
Oh, Overeem. See, okay, now my top 5 went like this. It went Cain, Dos Santos, and I kind of got a little fluctuated in there with Brock, Mir, and Barnett. Mir, he lost to Brock, so he lost the second round to Brock, so I had to give Brock above him. So I throw Brock. I don't really want to throw him at 3. It's a little too high to throw him at 3. But, I'm going to go ahead and stick Barnett in there at 3. And then I'm going to take Brock Lesnar at 4, Mir at 5.
You know what? I've got my 5th. Like I said, it's going to blow you away. I'm going with Cormier. Again, Olympic wrestler. He just knocked out a guy that, in all honesty, if you were making your top 5 heavyweights a week ago, you would have had to have him in the conversation. That's how the game works. You want that guy's spot on the ladder. You got to knock him off of it. He knocked Bigfoot off. I'm going Cormier at number 5.
It's a good pick. Good list from all 3 of us. I like those. I think we could all argue that point very well. Now, we're getting off MMA, and we're gonna move into boxing. Something we never get to talk on this show because we always have a card when the boxing match is coming up. Now we have a card this weekend. It's UFC Live though. We'll get to that later in the show. First, we're gonna jump into this Victor Ortiz Floyd Mayweather fight. Have you guys been watching the 24/7 on HBO?
No, I have not. I've got little recaps. I'm definitely going to be watching it, but no, I haven't seen it yet.
A lot of drama on there, just straight drama. I mean, you had 50 Cent and Mayweather sitting on a bed in a hotel. I think we have some video of that. Have them sitting on the bed in a hotel, talking to stacks of money like their phones. They're sitting right next to each other, talking to stacks of money. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, they're just talking. He's like, hey, 50, what you up to? 50 picks up a stack of hundreds, just starts talking to him. They definitely paint out Mayweather to be this money waste. I mean, he show him burning hundreds in the club, throwing hundreds out. You see Victor Ortiz, you see him, they show Shaq, show humble beginnings. They're painting that David and Goliath picture. Of course they're going to do that. I mean, Ultimate Fighter does that all the time. They're painting that David and Goliath
honestly, it's not a huge surprise who Floyd Mayweather is at this point. Like, that shouldn't be like, what in the world's happening?
They do call him Money Mayweather.
Yeah, that's him. That's what the guy does. It's his thing. And, in all honesty, a lot of times you tend to look at a guy like that and you think a lot of it's for show. But I think with him, that's just who the guy is. And, it takes personality sometimes.
Well, absolutely. A guy like Money Mayweather, you can talk the talk, but he's definitely a guy who's, walked the walk and lived getting that reputation. Undefeated. He's a fantastic athlete. He's a showstopper, someone that fans want to pay, they want to see. So they set up this fight. I think there's Definitely a lot of bad blood, but pretty much most of his fights end up coming out that way, just because he's so, flamboyant, and so much of a trash talker. But definitely the guy, he can definitely back it up, and that's what makes exciting fights. He's not one of those rush boxers, one like Pacquiao kind of sits back and plays that defensive game and finds his spots. I don't think that the fans are going to be too upset. I think it should be a pretty good fight.
Yeah, and getting off that social aspect and going into the fighting of the two guys, you have Victor Ortiz, the young gun, coming up. He's a champion in his class. He's got a couple belts. And you have him versus Floyd Mayweather, Money Mayweather, the guy who self-proclaims himself to be the most money-making boxer. He brings the most views, the most money to the sport. He keeps people in tune to the sport. He said at the press conference, he actually said, Kevin Iole said this on Twitter, that he was sending out quotes and things. He said, all these people are here to see me. Ortiz, they're not here to see you. They're here to see me.
And, honestly, he's got a point. I wish I could say that he's just a little bit too self-involved, but it's true. He really is the biggest name in boxing today. I know, Pacquiao's pretty big, but it's not the same thing because you know what you're getting with Mayweather. He's on 24/7 every couple months, acting a fool, throwing down with his dad or whatever it is he's up to this year. That's what you get with him, and, that's reality. He really is the biggest thing going in boxing today.
And he's talented. That's
he's
the
very
thing.
talented. I don't particularly care for the guy, but you give the devil his due. Was he 41-0 or something?
Yeah, he's him and Pacquiao are the top two guys, which I'm so angry that this fight is not. It's not gonna happen. The fight's never gonna happen. I don't see it ever happening. But those are definitely the top two guys. Mayweather works harder than anybody I've ever seen, maybe outside of Pacquiao. And like I said, when I was going over what we were going to talk about in the show, even if you say that, I believe they're toe-to-toe. Mayweather works hard. You might see him fooling around, burning money in the club, making it rain, do all that stuff, but he works harder than anybody I've ever seen in the sport.
Well, when you get in the ring, he means business, and he takes care of business. He's one of the most talented fighters you've ever seen, 40, 41 in front of him. None have gotten him. None have got the better of him. He's going to be a big, tough to handle fight for Ortiz. He's got his belts on the line. He may have worked all this way to get to where he is, but that can fall right down after fighting a guy like Floyd Mayweather. At least we're getting Floyd in the ring, and I think that's the most important. This whole Pacquiao mess, it's unfortunate that super fight couldn't, come together and we couldn't see, maybe one of the best matches of all time. But it is, it's still silver lining. We get to see Floyd Mayweather in the ring, and you get to see him showcase his skills, and that's exactly what people are paying for.
All right, to end this segment, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get your picks. Who do you have, Jeremy? Mayweather or Ortiz?
It seems kind of anticlimactic. I think we're probably all going in the same general direction here, but he's proven it for so many years. He's an intelligent fighter. He's a skilled fighter. He's so rounded. You go around the horn, and he's got it in every area. I think he's going to have the better game plan. I think he's going to execute the game plan better. I like Mayweather.
Ortiz says he's going to put a loss in that column, his first loss for Mayweather. Who do you have, John?
Well, I think that everybody's been, just as much as they've been hyping up Floyd Mayweather, they've been hyping up this striking power, that knockout power that Ortiz has, which, not to denigrate any of that, I definitely believe he has the ability. But it's kind of like the Great White Hype, if you guys have seen that movie. It's all that build-up, and then when we get in the ring, we're going to see that real skill. Can he even touch Floyd Mayweather? That's the question. I'm going to have to go with Floyd and those 41 wins.
All right, well, you know where I'm going. I'm going Money Mayweather. If he loses, you're going to see some sad faces up here. When we come back...
not about sad, not sad.
Because Jeremy always says the right thing. No matter what, we come back to the show, Jeremy was right. Anyway, guys, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about the UFC Fight Night Live, the Battle on the Bayou that's going on down in Louisiana right after this. Welcome back to your final segment of Off the Mat. That's Jeremy Hurt. That's John Urcuyo. I'm Bernard Oliver. Now we have a little bit of time here to talk Battle on the Bayou. There's a lot of guys from the Ultimate Fighter on this. A couple different seasons on there. You got Mackenzie's coming in. You got Shamar Bailey from the last season. You got the winner from the season before last. Brookins. Yeah, you got Brookins coming in. A lot of young guns coming up on this card. What do you guys think about it?
I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, that's exactly what they're looking for. They're trying to get some of these guys that push that we've been talking about. A lot of these older guys getting out. Got to bring in the new crop, and I think this is a great way to do it.
I mean, a lot of these fights 2 years ago would have been main card fights, like main pay-per-view event fights. I mean, you've got the guy that just won the Ultimate Fighter, recently, really making his first big-time fight. That would have been a main card fight a couple years ago. It's one of the beautiful things about MMA, where it's at and where it's headed, is that, the better that the top gets, rising ship and all that. But it's definitely a good show, and there really aren't that many bad ones. Anytime that you got 5 fights and 10 guys are going out there, then it's going to work out.
I think you're going to strike out with that metaphor there.
It works in any situation.
But yeah, man, we got to pick these fights. We might give you guys another update this week. Go talk a little bit more after the cameras go off and throw you guys an update on YouTube, let you see some more of us breaking down this card. But I got to get your guys' views. Shields, Ellenberger, who do you have and why?
Well, Shields, obviously. I think Ellenberger's a very legitimate. I think he's probably like a second, third tier in that weight class. But I think at 170, I feel like Jake Shields is legitimately the second or third best fighter in that entire weight class. So,
yeah.
GSP is GSP, and that's just life. John Fitch could tell you about that. Josh Koscheck could write a book. And it's just something that Jake Shields got to find out like everybody else did. But I still think he's definitely a superior talent to Ellenberger. Ellenberger's got some very good wins on his resume. I think one loss in the UFC, and it was 4 or 5 fights ago. He's not shabby at all, but I think Shields, obviously, in every phase is too solid.
Jeremy's got Shields. Who you got, John?
I got to agree 100%. Going against a guy, Ellenberger, Division II NCAA wrestling coach, he knows what he's doing,
Definitely.
But I'm sorry, Shields better at every facet of being in that octagon, and that's what matters. That's how it's going to turn out. I think Shields, also with something to prove too. Like Jeremy said, GSP is GSP. What are you going to do about it? Except come out your next fight and prove that you deserve a rematch.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you guys both said, I agree with you. It's been a pretty long time since we've been unanimous on our picks on the show. Of course, a boxing card, we only picked one fight.
Y'all are learning to just agree with me.
That's how it is.
We only picked one card on the Mayweather fight card, and we're only picking one card right now on this. But I got to go with Shields, man. You didn't get to see all of his weapons when he fought GSP, and I have to go with him to keep it quicker. I'm gonna go with Shields. I agree with everything you guys said. Before we close out on the show, John Urcuyo made this magnificent promo for UFC 135 next week. John Jones versus Rampage. I'm not going to talk it up. I'm going to let you guys see it. For Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo, I'm Bernard Oliver. This has been Off the Mat. Until next time, guys, we'll see you at the fights.
Just come get my belt back. That's the only thing I care about. Last time I took an opponent lightly, I lost my belt. Never do that again. I think he could be remotivated to get a belt back. My job is to make sure I don't give it back to him.